What is up, everybody? It is I, Ronin, and welcome to How to Deck Build. So, this is just going to be a pretty long video, and this is mostly for newer players. We're just going to be going over the basics of how to build a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, the fundamental stuff. We're actually going to put a deck together, and then we will test it for a game, and then we'll do edits just to go through the full deck building process. If you are an experienced player, all the information that I will be going over you probably already know, so not much need to watch. But if you are a newer player or you're trying to get back into the game, then I would suggest watching just because it could be informative at least a little bit. Sorry, my throat's a little sore, so I might be clearing my throat some. Yeah, my throat's not doing too good right now, so I might clear my throat, so I'm sorry about that. But anyways, let's get started. So, before we even start putting cards into our deck, which is going to be Ancient Gear Beatdown, by the way, we need to go over the fundamentals of what you need to consider when building a deck, and that is three things. One is your win con or win condition. Two is consistency. And three is your protection, but protection is a little bit more situational, so we're going over that one last. So first, your win con. Your win con is any card, strategy, or combination of cards that you are using to get a win pretty much. So for Ancient Gear Beatdown, we are using the Beatdown strategy, which is just getting a bunch of big monsters onto the field and then killing the opponent with battle damage, essentially. So Ancient Gear is very good for that. So let's go ahead and put in our win con. We search Ancient Gear. And we need big monsters for this. So we will be putting in, let's go with Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. Very good card. Gear Golems, as well as Ultimate Pound. And then we also have some fusion monsters, so let's go with Megaton Golem, my personal favorite Ancient Gear monster. Howitzer is always... Well, we don't need to worry about Howitzer right now. That floats into Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem because we are running a free of Megaton. We will be going for free of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem as well. And we probably only need one Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. It's a very good card, but more than likely, once we get to the point where we summon it, we'll win anyways, so one copy of it should do just fine. So, that's kind of our win con. This is the core of our deck. Big monsters that do big battle damage and can't really be stopped because of the Ancient Gear's effects. So now for the next step, which is consistency. So these are all the cards that we will use to more consistently get out all these big monsters because that's kind of the appeal of Beatdown. You're able to get out big monsters very quickly. So let's see, consistency boosting cards for Ancient Gears would be anything that can get us our combo pieces like or infusion pieces. So first up we have Ancient Gear Wyvern, which is a searcher for any Ancient Gear card in your deck. So a very good tool. What else do we have? Ancient Gear things. Hunting Hound works as a polymerization whenever it is just on the field, so we can use that. Plus there's a little burn damage of it, so that's never a bad thing. We can search any Ancient Gear Golem card, anything that lists it, with Ancient Gear Frame. So we will be running that at free for now. It's at the cost of a discard though, so be aware. Let's see, what else can we use to boost consistency in this deck? Let's look. Now we have Ancient Gear Fortress, which when it protects your, well, actually we'll go over that later. Sorry about that. Ancient Gear Fusion is a very good card. It is searchable. It lets us summon, so we'll be running that at free. it's searchable by Wyvern, so we'll be running that at free, and also it lets us get to our fusion monsters fairly easily. We have Ancient Gear Catapult, which, as long as we control no monsters, we can destroy one card on our field, then summon any Ancient Gear monster from our deck with ignoring its summoning conditions, so it is worth running it free. Oh, sorry about that. And then we also have Gear Town. Not only does it reduce the cost of a tribute summon, which could be a little bit helpful, it also, when popped, lets us summon an Ancient Gear monster from our deck, ignoring its, or yeah, one Ancient Gear monster from our deck, which synergizes very well with Ancient Gear Catapult, so we'll go with that. And to get to that a little bit faster, we will also grab ourselves a terraforming. So there we go. Now we have basic consistency, we have our core. So now the final step, protection, and like I said, protection is a little bit more situational, to say the least, because what protection you need really depends on what format you're going to be playing in. Since we are playing mostly on YGO Pro, we will be building our protection against the YGO Pro meta more or less. So, let's see, what happens usually on YGO Pro? Lots of Solemns, lots of Mirror Forces, but we don't really worry about that because we are Ancient Gears. What else could we need to worry about? Hand traps are pretty prevalent. Well, actually, let's just do general protection for like hand traps. So, we'll be running free of the hand trap killer just to make sure our plays get through, called by the grave. We will also have a very good Ancient Gear support card, which protects plays very well. Ancient Gear Fortress, wherever it is. Workshop, where's Fortress? Here it is. It has the same effect as Gear Town, and during the turn that they were normal or special summoned, your opponent cannot target Ancient Gear monsters you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of an Ancient Gear cards and effects. So, Ancient Gear Fortress protects our plays very well. We need that. So, what else can we use? That is the question. Now this we can use Ancient Gear Howitzer as sort of a backup plan. It lets us get to cards when destroyed, so it's never a bad look to have at free in an Ancient Gear deck. And finally, and now another problem is face downs, because this is a go second deck. We don't want to deal with that because they can be a problem. So we'll be running free Mystical Space Typhoon for this. Sort that. There. Now before we even begin our turn, we have the potential to get rid of any possible problematic face downs. Alright, so now we have one more spot left in our deck, unless we want to go over. I try to stick at 40 when I can, it's just better that way. So, at this point, we want to look at what can we use to, what's the right word I'm looking for? Maximize our strategy pretty much, because we have protection, we have consistency, we have our core stratagem. So what else can we really do is the question. So at this point, I want to talk about the philosophy of building decks for going first or going second, because there are two frames of mind for this really. The first is building your deck to absolutely go first or absolutely go second. The second being building your deck so it can go first or second. And each of these ideas sort of have their own benefits and negatives. So the benefit of building, let's go over the benefits first, just in general. Uh, the benefit of building to go absolutely first or absolutely second is that, generally speaking, the results will be your deck will just be overall more effective, more explosive, and more powerful if you get to do the turn order that you like. The downside being it struggles immensely if if it goes on the turn that you don't want it to. Of course, then you have the benefits of building to go first or second. That being the benefits, you're generally fine no matter what you do, going first or second, but the downside is you could open a lot of dead cards that you put in to go first or you put in to go second, and you're just generally less effective no matter when you're going. So I'm going to choose to go. You know what? We're going to choose to go hard second. So since we're going for a beatdown OTK strategy, a Raigeki should actually do quite nicely in our last spot. That way we'll be able to clear off our opponent's board and we will be able to get maximum damage. So for the final step, we're going to finish filling out our extra deck. So the question is, what can we do to finish filling it out? I'm actually at kind of a loss here. This is, well, let's just put in some generically good sorta cards. Cleafort Genius is a pretty good look. It's a link monster, so we're probably never going to be using it, but if we can use it, that's good. And you know what? Just for kicks, let's get Chaos Ancient Gear Giant at free. So there we go. That's save it real fast. So this is our basic deck. We have our win condition, which is big monsters with high attack points. We have cards to boost consistency, which is anything that lets us get access to those big monsters faster. And we also have a little bit of protection for our plays, so we can always feel a little more secure about not getting interrupted. So now that well, since we're only doing a one-time thing, we probably don't need to worry about sideboard, but you know what, let's go ahead and go over it. Go through the full process. So, in the sideboard, you just put cards that you want to replace against things that you have issues against, or things that, if you're feeling confident, you can do. I'm not gonna lie, I've never been good at making sideboards, but let's put in some classic sideboard picks. Uh, Droll and Lockbird is a nice look right now, considering how many search-heavy decks there are in the meta. What else can we do? Overload Fusion. That could be a actually pretty nice look, because as far as recoverability goes, our Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is very good. He's Dark Attribute, so he is summonable by Overload Fusion. Another thing, if we're going for a whole sideboard strategy, oh, actually, no, that wouldn't be good. What else could we do? Limiter removal could be a nice look against decks we have harder time removing monsters against. This just gives us maximum damage. What else can we do? Monster Reborn? That's always a kind of nice. It's always a nice card to have, not for every deck, but it's good to have access to it, I think. Let's see. What else can we put in that would make the deck little bits and pieces better. Uh, I would say Soul Charge, but that's not very helpful with Ancient Gears. Ooh, Trade-in could be nice. Or, yeah, Trade-in. Since we are running multiple level 8s, it's just a nice little draw too if we brick, but I don't want to put in the main deck because our primary strategy is Beatdown and Megaton is very good for that, as well as the Ancient Gear cards. So not really going to be maining that yet. So we are at 11. Dark Hole is another mass removal option. And since we usually like to blind second with this deck, it's just solid. Just a solid look. So we have 3 more spots. What can we put in? Let's just put in Storming Mirror Force. There's lots of Blue Eyes players about, and Storming Mirror Force is just a auto out to their whole steez. So yeah, we'll sort that, save. So there we go. That is our deck. We have you explained every choice, went over the fundamentals of each choice, and now we are going to test and see if it works out. And after that, we'll go into editing to make any improvements and changes that we need to, and that will about wrap up the video. So I'll see you guys in the game. Alright, here we are in the game with Cool Massam, and we lost that. Hopefully he will go first. Okay, so he is letting us go second, which is great for us. And our hand is okay, it's not the worst, but we are on the draw, so that's always a plus. So let's see what he does. Okay, set, pass. Well, this might actually go pretty well. All right. Okay, so what can we do? First, I have an idea. A little deck thinning never hurt, so a little deck thinning. So deck thinning is a pretty good thing. It just gets cards out of your deck. So searches, it possibly gets out hand traps, all that good stuff. Now the real question is, what do we want to do? Have an idea. I'll be normal summoning Gear Frame. He does have a response, so we got to be a little careful. Definitely a little bit more careful. Let's go ahead and try to get out that response then. See, baiting is always a solid thing to try to do. Alright, so now we'll activate this. We discard a card and search a Ancient Gear Golem or Ancient Gear card. Alright, so Effect Veiler. That was his response, I guess. So that is unfortunate, but we can do this. So we can summon Megaton Ancient Gear Golem. And we can just battle. Unfortunately, because we did not have multiple Ancient Gear Golems, he does not get multiple attacks. But he is hard to beat by battle, and if he is destroyed by an effect, then we get to float into Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, which is pretty nice. So, not ideal, but not great. Now, I'm guessing our opponent might have bricked, which is unfortunate for him. But yeah, alright. What is your play, friend? Another set. Okay then, Raigeki! You know what, let's. I want damage. Elemental Hero Soldier Man. Solid Man. So I'm guessing he's playing some sort of like warrior thing, I guess? I'm not really sure, actually. But yeah, so things are going pretty well so far. So here I Geki'd, which means we get to float into a good card. So it's nice for us. He can chain something though. Maybe. Alright, so assuming we don't get blown up here. Well, actually, we can still float into an Ancient Gear Golem. Alright, so we got that. Now, it says when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, so we can activate Mystical Space Typhoon, destroy this, and use our own Gear Town's effect to summon something for game. So, you know what, just in case he has a response, we're going for Wyvern, so we can search a card. What response do you have? Okay, good. So let's go ahead and grab this guy. And we will normal summon him just for that final push for game. Alright, so we did manage to win. The opponent was kinda bricking, so not ideal, but I did say one game, so it'll be one game. And now we'll just get back to the deck list where we will do any editing that may have needed to be done. So, see you there. Alright, so we are back. It wasn't, the game we played wasn't awful. We did pretty well ourselves, I think. Our opponent definitely bricked a lot, which sucks for him, but we did get to show off what this deck could be good at. Now let's look for ways we can improve it. So, one thing I did notice was that if we do not open Ancient Gear Fusion or one of the golems, or maybe this guy, we do have some problems, which is actually not so hard to circumvent. Okay, I had a whole plan, but now I'm actually having trouble thinking ways to edit this deck. Like, it ran pretty much perfectly, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we didn't have Called by the Grave, which could have stopped that Effect Veiler, but that's not really something that you can help with since I'm pretty sure Called by the Grave isn't very searchable. Uh, so yeah, that was pretty much the basics of deck building. Take this into the future if you maybe want to see more instructional stuff like this out of me, let me know. Like, I had a lot of fun making this. And, how do you think you could improve this deck? Did I miss any steps in the deck building process? Is there anything that I did right, didn't do right? Just, really let me know. So, yeah, this has been Ronin, signing off.